Welcome to The Secure CIO, the podcast for technology executives who are tasked with hiring and retaining great cybersecurity leaders. Join best-selling author Clare Pales together with industry thought leaders as they answer your questions about sourcing the right leaders, building cybersecurity teams, candidate selection, salaries, skills, and more.
Hello, I'm Clare Pales and welcome to the Secure CIO podcast. Today's guest is Clare Pickard. Clare has over 15 years' experience as an HR professional in corporate and professional services environments, including travel, IT, media and the legal profession. With a solid background in recruitment, both in-house and agency, Clare's expertise include training, learning and development, and career and leadership development. Over the years, she has partnered with many business leaders to support the engagement, selection, development and retention of top talent. Clare has a deep understanding of the impact these aspects of the employee lifecycle can have on employee engagement, individual and organisational performance, and the overall culture of a business. After a recent move out of the corporate world into consulting and private practice, Clare now works as a career and leadership coach. She works with individuals at different stages of their career and life to provide professional development, career planning and strategy, and outplacement advice, as well as professional skill and capability development. Clare, I'm thrilled to have you on the podcast today. I love being joined by guests who I've known for years, as I have this opportunity on the podcast to share your wisdom with our listeners. Clare and I met more than 10 years ago when we both worked together hiring fraud analysts for the team I was leading at the time. Clare, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here and thanks for inviting me today.
So a good place to start is to hear from you. What are some of the pivotal moments you've had in your career that have led you to where you are today?
I've probably had about 3 to 4 career-defining moments or chapters in my career. The first was a move into recruitment. So I started my career completing a Bachelor of Business in Marketing and HR and spent the first couple of years working in events management and marketing within the hotel and wine industries. I then transitioned from there into corporate sales in the hotel industry, and it was at that time that I was feeling quite unfulfilled. I actually saw a career coach at that time, quickly realised through that process that HR and particularly learning and development were where my interests lied. So I started working for Hayes Recruitment and quickly progressed into an internal recruitment consultant role at Census, working with Telstra, which is where you and I started working together, Claire. This is really where I developed skills and expertise working closely with hiring managers and leaders to identify and source talent, building high-performing teams and really helping to support individuals in making the right choices for their careers. I knew that learning and development was where I wanted to be. So I decided at that point to take a bit of a sideways step internally into the people and organisational development team as a career programs advisor. At the time, Census was one of the very few corporates in Australia that had a dedicated career development team. Most organisations back then felt that if you helped employees to develop and plan their careers, then you were encouraging them to leave. So, in fact, we know now that that's quite the opposite. This is where I worked really closely with leaders to upskill their capability in their teams, coaching them on how to coach, really, how to have effective feedback conversations and career conversations with their people. But I also worked with individuals to help them better understand their skills and strengths and really educate them on ways to develop and plan their careers. A lot of program development, training, facilitation and consulting back to the business was really part of my role. I then progressed into a learning and development manager role in a corporate law firm. In that role, I worked with a lot of people transitioning from an operational role to a leadership role, and was involved heavily in the one-on-one leadership coaching through a program that I developed. So I found this work extremely rewarding. And reflecting back now, I feel that it was probably at that point that I realised that coaching and consulting in private practice was what I wanted to do next, which is really what brought me to this point where I am now working for myself as a career and leadership coach.
In this season of the podcast, we've been talking about retention a little bit, and this is a huge concern for us in the security industry. and I know it's a concern in other industries as well. As a career coach, why might people end up in your office? You've talked about why you ended up in a career coach's office, but why do people end up with you, and how does that relate to the retention of leaders and how we keep people in their jobs?
I work with many different clients at various stages in their careers. So the reasons that people end up coming to see me can be varied. Often people feel stuck in their careers. They're not sure how to move forward. And so they're looking for clarity and direction and an understanding of what their options are or what they can do next. So, look, there are a number of reasons why people come and see me. Another one is that they're often looking to understand their strengths and what roles might suit them. Often people, we see people who've got really strong technical or operational skills and might be really great at analysing data or solving problems. And performing really well, and as a result, they're moved into a leadership role. But sometimes this isn't really a natural fit for them, and they find that it's difficult for them to manage people or think more strategically, and they're better suited to that technical or behind the scenes or operational role. And then they often become, de-energized and demotivated with the work that they're doing. We also do a lot of work with return to parents or people who've had significant career breaks and they're not wanting to go back to the role that they were doing prior to their break. So they're looking to relaunch themselves in their career, or they might have, in the case of the situation at the moment, they might have been stood down or been made redundant, and they're looking for support and guidance around rebuilding and rebranding themselves in the job market. More often than not, it's about people feeling undervalued or not feeling valued for their contribution. They're not able to use their strengths, or they're feeling unfulfilled and looking for something more meaningful in their work. So as a result, all of these things can lead to them feeling demotivated, losing their confidence in their ability and lacking motivation, and ultimately moving on. So in terms of the link to retention, I think that there's more that organisations can truly do to support and engage their people. And often it starts with their direct manager and the role that they play in people's careers.
You talked a lot in your response to that second question around a lot of the reasons that people end up seeing a career coach or seeing yourself. And a lot of those feelings or emotions, things like feeling unfulfilled, can lead to burnout. And we spoke to Graham Cowan earlier this season about burnout. He was from Are You OK? And do you see burnout playing a role in the need for people to have career coaching? Do you see that sort of all those things added up together do lead to people being quite burnt out and kind of needing to reassess?
Yeah, absolutely. Claire, it's definitely a factor and quite a significant factor actually, and one that we see quite often or one that I see quite often in my clients. And it can stem really from a number of factors. The person can often be taking on too much, feeling out of control or inadequately equipped. So they lack the skills and experience that they need in order to do their role effectively. They're feeling a lack of support around them or competing demands at home or work, and an ongoing, and challenging work situation can often result in stress and, career burnout. People who possess a personality trait of, being more service orientated and wanting to help others, as well as being, highly organised and structured, like to control or like to feel like they're in control, and often experience burnout because they sometimes take on too much. They often put people's needs first, and they find it difficult to say no or set boundaries as a result, and they can feel quite overwhelmed. So seeking help to gain greater self-awareness of ourselves, so our personality, our strengths, our career drivers, interests, development areas, all of those things can allow us to put some strategies in place to proactively manage and alleviate career burnout longer term.
We've talked about some of the sort of negative reasons that people might end up seeing a career coach. What are some of the great outcomes that people can achieve through seeing a career coach?
Yeah, look, there are a number of benefits. Becoming clear about their careers and work that's best suited to them. So identifying strengths and personal values and interests. Career planning, gaining clarity and direction about what they want to achieve and really how to get there. understanding transferable skills and what different options and possibilities might be there for that person and how they can find them. And really alleviating fears and anxiety, that's often a big area that underplays or underpins a number of the reasons why people actually come and see us. Building self-awareness and developing confidence and self-belief, being inspired to achieve their true potential. Also, we look at helping people understand how to best market themselves and put together and create, a compelling personal brand, and tailoring documents and articulating, their suitability in an interview. So through the process, the career coaching process, they build skills and they gain tools and strategies to develop a greater awareness of themselves. And with that comes the confidence and motivation to make a change and the knowledge to make more informed decisions about career and work.
So what tools or actions can leaders take to feel more energised in their role?
Yeah, we spoke a little bit more about strengths. So people are often disengaged in their work for two reasons. They're not able to use their core strengths in their role. And the second one is that is linked really to alignment or value alignment and their personal values. So if we're able to use our strengths around 80% of the time in our role, we will ultimately feel more connected and engaged and energised with our work. So the first thing I would say is to understand your true strengths, natural strengths. So not necessarily a learnt behaviour or skill, but the innate strengths of our personality and really how they add value to their role or to others and to the business. I recently had a client I was working with and she was in an IT consulting role. And although her position was quite senior, she actually spent a lot of time working behind the scenes, predominantly focused on, business analysis because she had really strong technical abilities. But her personality profile suggested that she's strongly focused on service delivery and, what we call a helper. In our personality career assessment. And she has exceptional skills in working with clients and people, and her strengths are definitely in relationship development and identifying customer needs and providing solutions to them, but not necessarily in a more technically focused environment. And she felt most energized when she was in front of clients. And, because she wasn't, over time, she was becoming really disconnected with her work. So understanding your true strengths is one way that can feel energized. And using those, I guess, is one way that you can feel more energized in your work. A second area is around building a supportive team around you. So surrounding yourself with strong people that you can really rely on and trust. Building a team of people that you can delegate and share the load. As a leader, the role can be less than about operations and execution and more about strategy and achieving organisational success. And the last one I'd say is sort of moving back to growth and development of ourselves. So continuing your own growth, looking for ways to improve continuously and personally grow as leaders, and ask yourself if you're equipped to be a leader and a successful team leader. And if not, what is it that you need?
I think the self-reflection is so important. The points you made in there about making sure that you're aware of what you need to be better at your role and, not necessarily looking to others, not necessarily always looking to others around you to help you have that fulfilment, but also, making sure that you're contributing to your own professional development as well. And I guess then that awareness is so important, that self-awareness is so important. Do you think some people are not really often reflecting on that fulfillment in their roles? And do you think it sort of creeps up on them sometimes that one day they just kind of wake up and realise that they're not fulfilled in their role? Or are there just people out there who feel such a duty to their employer that they're less likely to worry about that and they just get on with the job?
Yeah, look, I think to me, fulfillment's about feeling satisfied, happy in your professional life and your work. And some people, particularly early on in their careers, relate satisfaction of work to things like power and status, authority, responsibility, or money, which are quite kind of extrinsic factors. So the feelings of joy from these aspects can be quite short-lived. And a question that I regularly ask my clients is, what is it that you find rewarding in your role? What's important to you, and what are you doing that gives you a sense of purpose? So I think that that sense of purpose links significantly to fulfilment or lack of fulfilment. I think true fulfillment is linked to your values, and as I said, sense of purpose or your why. Often people don't realise what will truly make them fulfilled until they consciously step back, or indeed, I guess, something happens that's out of their control which forces them to become conscious of it. So I think it does creep up on us. If it's ignored, though, it can really lead to feelings of unfulfillment, like disengagement, lack of motivation, procrastination, avoidance, feelings of disappointment or resentment towards your organisation and manager. And if left, can just end up essentially, feeling extremely dissatisfied and demotivated with work and then life. So I think one of the reasons why people end up seeing a career coach, is really to understand what they need in their work and life to feel more fulfilled. Often people are fearful of a change because they've invested so much time and energy into a particular career path, and there's a lot that's tied up in making that decision or changing direction. What if I fail? What if I can't do it? What if I lose what I have? And what will people think of me? So there's a lot that's tied up, and a lot of aspects that kind of underpin lack of fulfillment. And I think it actually can creep up on you. And if, as I said, if it's not something that is reflected upon and you become conscious of it, it can significantly impact work and then, outside of work as well.
I want to finish up by talking a bit about mindset. I know this is a real area of interest and passion for you. What role does mindset play in career progression for leaders?
Yeah, so I think mindset plays a significant role in the ability for leaders to move forward in their careers, make decisions, solve problems, interact with their team. In my work, I also do a lot of personal development coaching, which really focuses on our constructive or non-constructive thinking and behavioural styles, and helping people to become more aware of what might be supporting or hindering them and their ability to achieve their own personal and professional effectiveness. Often what gets in the way of them achieving their goals and moving forward sometimes is to do with their mindset. In this coaching, I focus a lot on negative mindset, or what we call the inner critic, and the role that plays in our work and our life, and becoming aware of our negative self-talk or our inner critic and what we're saying to ourselves can regularly have a huge impact on our ability to change or progress. So with a fixed mindset, for instance, or a mindset of, that is stopping us from achieving what we want to achieve, because often we say to ourselves that we assume we can't do something, or we can't, so we can't be a good leader, or, I'm not a strategic thinker, I'm not a good problem solver, and that won't change. If we work on shifting or reframing our mindset and thinking to be more open to growth and possibilities, then we create the belief that we can enhance our capability, and this belief turns into action, which then can help us grow and move forward and helping us achieve our potential.
That sounds like a pretty good approach to positive thinking. And if you wrap all of that up with the career coaching and people sort of realising where they want to go and where they want to be, and then using mindset to get there, it's quite a process. It's not something people can just do overnight, and I guess getting someone like yourself to guide them through that is key to make sure that, we're making the most out of those career decisions, because, we are at work so much of our lives. I think seeking professional advice is really important when you're making these career-based decisions to ensure that you're sort of taking in all the possible options for you, and then, you can set your goals to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clare, it's been really great chatting with you today. I really appreciate your time, and we'll pop some details in the show notes of how people can contact you. But thank you so much for sharing about a topic that's really, really important and that probably not enough people focus on, and that is not just their career roadmap or their career path, but also on making sure that they're always checking in to make sure they're on the right path.
Thanks, Claire. It's been great.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for listening. For more information on all our guests, check out the show notes at thesecurecio.com, where you can also find more information on the Secure CIO framework and sign up for my newsletter. If you loved the show, please subscribe to the podcast and feel free to leave me a 5-star rating. I'll see you next week.